So what would you say was your favorite part, or what did you enjoy the most about the whole process of developing the position statement, occupational therapy's role in pain management?
So I think for me was like watching it start, especially once we started like writing the chunk of it. So thinking about watching like us look at like the outline and then start to grow it to what we started, then we wrote some and then it changed. I really go back to the when the section that I worked on talking about treatment. And I had made this like huge like table because I was like, oh, we'll do this and it'll have all this. And then like after you and I took a step back, we were like, okay, this is not very usable. And we just chucked the whole thing, and I was able to use pieces of it to then pull in, but it was all in the name of like making it more readable, but also more usable, and really relying on the practice framework. So I think that you had that idea right as we started to write, and it totally kind of shifted everything. And I really loved that idea. But then then out of that came using the table, I think it's table 12 that we ended up framing the treatments out of, and how useful it was. So really that whole process of like honing it to make it the most usable document that we could.
No, I agree. And actually, I was thinking along those lines too. I probably have two things I would say that I valued or enjoyed or just am really excited about. I think the first one was I loved how we were able to incorporate the practice framework for lots of reasons, not just because it made the paper so much stronger, but it's almost like it fed my love for OT, right? Because as we started taking that framework and applying it to what we were already doing in pain, it just really excited me because I felt like here's evidence, right? Here's evidence of why occupational therapy should be doing pain management. And we already knew from the biopsychosocial standpoint, but it's like the more we brought in from the framework, the more it validated, this framework wasn't created for pain management, it was created for our profession. That was super exciting. Like I just felt like we were adding more and more evidence each time we did it. And then I think the other thing that I loved so much was all of the information and the contributions from the contributing authors. Even though you and I wrote the body of it, I think several times we would come back with their feedback, and it would just take it in so much broader, not necessarily broader, but it just really gave it so much more, because that was the whole reason you and I had, or the vision we had, was we wanted all of these experts who were practicing in occupational therapy, who were practicing differently than you and I were. And we felt like it was so important to incorporate all of it. And so I don't think I anticipated how much they would influence even what we were doing. Does that make sense? Like it just would really excite me every time we got a new perspective. I was like, how could we have missed that?
Absolutely. Because I think if you look at, the position statement just to read it, it looks like that, oh, there's a main body written by two people and a case study that was written by, individuals, right? And that it seems very kind of siloed and partitioned, but it was really much more collaborative, than that, especially the main paper and the contributions that, the feedback that we got from having those contributing case study authors who all did such amazing case studies, but really it improved our part as well.
And the case studies are amazing. Like when I look at the case studies, I feel like that is the meat, right? I feel like any practitioner can take one of those case studies and literally take it to practice the next day when they're working with someone with pain, and pull out, these are the assessment tools. And they weren't all the same assessment tools. A lot of them did include some consistent tools, but each study included a tool that the other one didn't. And then their treatment interventions, just reflected a lot of different perspectives. And I think you can just pull those out and say, I'm going to try this in practice tomorrow. And I think that's just exciting.
It is because it just is, it's so across the board. You have examples for acute pain. There's a pediatric, there's hospice, end of life. Like it really does, like you said, wherever you're at, any OT practitioner can look at that and pull out something that can be useful to them in practice.
And I think that any practitioner can read it and go, that's me. I had a situation. This is applicable. Um, and I think just really expanding the understanding, you and I talk about it all the time that before we started working in pain, we did not understand pain. And you had more understanding than I did because of what you did in your coursework. But I just realized when I looked back on my career, I just wish I could go back to everyone I had treated who had pain and have a redo because they didn't have enough understanding. And I think that when I look at the paper, that excites me so much that maybe a lot of other practitioners won't have to look back and want redos.
Yeah, absolutely.